If you are overwhelmed creating content day after day, or your content isn't attracting the audience you want, you need a content strategy. Almost everyone you see online is creating some kind of content for their personal brand or business because they know content in this day and age, the digital age, is not an option. Businesses and brands that aren't consistently advertising, outreaching, and making content online may not be in business too much longer, especially since as a society we're spending more, connecting more, exploring, and engaging more online. And because that pace is only growing by the day, I figure that means there are only two options: be consistently online or be left behind. But being online all the time is a full time job and one that's getting harder every day because everyone and their mother's dog is online. So, how can you keep up? How can you stay consistent when you're operating a business, when you're working your 9 to 5, or you actually have a life that you plan to live? With a content strategy. I'm Dom, your content friend, and I'm here to walk you through the 6 easy steps that I use to create mine. And if you stay to the end, I'll tell you about my key 7th step. These steps can work for any business, any niche, but before we get into making a content strategy, what is it? Why do we actually need one? Well, first, a content strategy is just a general plan to achieve a specific goal with your content, right? So, general could be you want to gather more data. Maybe you want to increase revenue for your business. Maybe you want to lower costs. Maybe you want to find leads. There are so many different reasons that you can create a content plan or strategy. The main point is that you want to have a specific goal that you want to achieve. It also doesn't have to be a huge grand goal like make $1 million or get 20 clients. It could, again, simply just be to gather data on what people like and what they're engaging with. Okay, so why is creating a content strategy important? Like, what problems does a content strategy solve, right? First, a lack of direction. So, without a clear plan, your content creation, the content itself, and the process can be scattered. With a plan, you'll have a lot less confusion, you'll have a lot less overwhelm when you're actually creating things. And because you'll be focused on the whole plan instead of just one individual piece of content, it's going to help you, or like it's helped me, obsess less on one specific piece of content and not hyper focus on it, which will allow you to create more content with better direction. Another problem a strategy solves is inconsistent messaging. So if you're talking about a whole bunch of different things, maybe I'm like how I'm in marketing. If I were talking about my dog or talking about my family or my parents or, what I ate for breakfast, that wouldn't be a consistent message to the people that I'm trying to attract, which is that I can help you with your marketing, right? None of those things, my dog, my family, what I ate, would convey that I can help you with your marketing. Another thing is if you are posting across channels, say you're posting on TikTok, you're posting on LinkedIn, you're posting on YouTube, you want the people that are in those spaces to have a consistent and coherent experience when they move from platform to platform, right? You don't want someone to go from your TikTok to your YouTube and have them thinking, oh my God, what am I watching? Is this a completely different page? This is not what I signed up for. So you want to make sure your messaging is consistent with a strategy. Another thing it helps with is poor engagement. So if you understand who you're talking to, your audience, you have a good strategy, then your content will resonate more. So if you have poor engagement, making a content strategy is going to help you increase that engagement. Making a content strategy also helps you to be more efficient with your resources, specifically your time. Creating a bunch of random content that nobody looks at, that nobody cares about, is a waste of time. And when you're a creator, especially if you're a solo creator, when you're wasting time, you're wasting money. And if you're a business owner, when you're wasting time, you're wasting money. When you have a good strategy in place, you have clarity so you can waste less time figuring out what to do or sitting in front of a blank screen, and you can get more done, and you can attract the right people with your cohesive message, which will mean you'll get more money. So, low visibility. If you want to be seen across more platforms, or if you want to be picked up by Google or YouTube and you incorporate SEO and targeting into your strategy and your content, that's going to increase your visibility. So, if your visibility is low, having a content strategy will fix that. It's going to help attract the right people who will engage and help to get your content pushed to more people. The last thing it helps with is being able to track success. If you are making content and you don't know what your goal is, how will you ever know if you succeed? If you have a good strategy, then you know what your goals are, what you're reaching and aiming for. So then you'll be able to track your success. You'll be able to track what's working. You'll be able to stop doing what's not working. Okay, so Dom, that all sounds great. I heard all the problems that, having a content strategy can solve, but what's gonna happen when I pretend that it's not important, or I don't do it, or I skip it? That's a good question, Dom. Glad you asked. Okay, so here's the answer. First, you're going to be confused. If you're a solo creator or if you work in a marketing team, spending your time confused is wasting time. It's wasting energy and it's wasting money. Another thing, because you are confused, you and not really having a North Star, seeing how your content will work together in the big picture, you're more likely to be hyper fixated on a particular piece of content, which means you're going to take longer to make it, which means you make less content over the long run, which means less chances to get in front of the people that you want to get in front of. It also means that you're probably going to be a lot more overwhelmed when you are making content because you're going to be hyper fixated on one piece of content, that it has to be perfect, that it has to be everything to get all of the attention. And if you have a content strategy, you don't have to worry about that. Another thing, when you try to skip this and you don't have a content strategy fleshed out, customers will be confused. And when they are confused, they will disengage. They will stop looking at your things, they will look at somebody else's things. And when they do that, that means less sales for your business, less views for your brand, less engagement. And it could possibly lead to the loss of your business. And if you started this business to get away from a 9 to 5, you may have to possibly return. And ultimately, it leads to you risking making content that nobody watches, wasting your time, your energy, your effort, making content that nobody watches. All right, so before we jump into creating our content strategy, I want to give a quick shout out to the Content Marketing Institute. This video was actually inspired from their one-page content strategy article. So sure you check that out. I left a link in the description. And on your way to check that out, be sure to hit the like and bell button for more content tips like this. Not one, but both of those. All right, so let's jump into our content strategy with these 3 tips to help make the most out of this content strategy and our time together. First, make sure you write it down. If you don't write it down, it didn't happen. If you don't write it down, it won't happen. And make sure you keep it in a place that's easily accessible. So if you have an office that you work in, you can put it on the wall. If you have a program or something that you use to create your content in, like I use Notion or Asana, you can make sure you keep it there. The second thing, use bullet points. Don't worry about sentence structure with this strategy because you need a usable document that you can work from and easily explain, easily update, not a stack of words on a document that you'll never look at again. So use bullet points. Third, do not marry this document. Marketing is all about optimization. It's about learning and growing and seeing what people like and doing more of that and stopping less of the things that don't work. So, this document, it will change, and that is a good thing. It changing means you are moving in the right direction. So if it does change, don't get discouraged. Okay, here are the 6 steps we'll cover to create our content strategy. Step one, we will set the content marketing objective. So, what are we doing? What are we trying to pursue? You know, what's our main goal? Step two, we'll define the audience. Who are we talking to? Step three, we'll identify some content categories and topics. So, what am I saying? What are we talking about? Step four is we'll detail those content types and formats. So, how am I saying it? Step five, we'll list the distribution channels and the frequency. So, where am I saying it at and how often? And then step six, we'll connect to your business purpose. So, why am I saying this? And then my special step seven is the additional input. So, what am I missing? Okay, so step one, let's set your content marketing objective. So, what are you trying to do? What are your business goals? If you need kind of a framework that I use, it's the SMART goals framework, and that's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So, one of the big things that helps SMART goals be successful is the M, the measurable. So, when you're creating this, you want to use numbers. It doesn't have to be some grand goal, but the more numbers you can use, the better it'll be, especially if you want to measure. So, for example, I have the first goal I want to is to attract and convert leads interested in content and copywriting, ghostwriting services, right? My goal is two. I'm currently at zero, right? So you can see the number. I can easily track if I have two clients, right? Another thing is to grow my social presence, right? And to nurture potential clients, but I also, it's specifically to grow my social presence. So for LinkedIn, I'm at about 350 something followers or connections right now, and I want to increase that by 50%. So let's see, if I'm at 358 now, that's about 537 for that 50% increase. Hold on, let me check those numbers. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so 537. To increase by 50%, I would be going from 358 connections to 537. And then from YouTube subscribers, I want to go from the 4 subscribers that I have now, you have to start from somewhere, to 10 subscribers. That's not a lot, but when you do percentages and the math of it, it turns out to be yeah, so from 4 to 10 is 150% increase, which is kind of a lot. And then also I want to start an email list and go from 0 subscribers to 10. So, and I believe that would like technically be like 1,000% increase, which that's crazy, right? And again, those numbers sound huge, but it's literally going from 0 to just 10, like 10 subscribers. So just do 2 or 3 bullet points for that one. So, step two, make sure you define the audience. So, who is most likely to buy what you're selling or most likely to be interested in what you're talking about? What are they struggling with? What do they care about? These are just some things to think about. Who would this help the most? If you have like a specific service or product that you're trying to sell more of, who would this benefit the most? What are those benefits? So, for example, mine is I am my primary audience that I thought I would attract is small, mid-size e-commerce, health and wellness business owners, right? So I figure that they are looking for ways to um, engage, ways to scale their online presence revenue. That's the background that I have in health and wellness. Um, I figure that some of their pain points or issues might be that they're struggling with email or content marketing, that they have inconsistent messaging, that they want to increase their engagement, right? Again, it doesn't have to be fleshed out, it doesn't have to be perfect, and it's going to change. For example, mine, as I've been posting on LinkedIn, here and there kind of recently, I've recently learned that like copywriters, content marketers are the number one demographic of people who are interested in my stuff. So make your best guess, but as you get more data, it's going to change. And again, that's a good thing. Okay, step three, to identify our content categories and topics. So, this is what we are talking about. So, just three bullet points about just broad general topics related to what you're selling or what your channel is going to be about or what your content is going to be about. And they can just be three broad ones off the top of your head. You don't have to spend too much time on it trying to narrow it down. For example, mine, I have email marketing mastery. I want to make content on how to master email marketing. The second bullet point I have is content strategy and planning. I want to um, create content on how to make a good content strategy. Kind of meta, but and then the third one is copywriting techniques. So, ways to write more persuasively that helps to convert um, your viewers into actual paying customers and to clients. Okay, so step four, let's talk about the content types and formats. And this is, what kind of content are you making? What kind of content is your target consuming? Are there kind of trends in content that you're seeing? And really, there are pretty much only four answers for this that I can think of off the top of my head, which are text, video, audio, photo, right? So, what kind of content is your potential audience? What kind of content are they consuming? For example, I have video content. That's where most people are going. I've seen that there's a rising trend in video content on all the platforms: YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, everywhere. Um, also emails, social media posts, and blog posts. Those are the examples for myself that I'm planning to make: emails, video content, social media posts, which is text, photos, some video, and then blog posts, which can be a combination of all the ones we mentioned before as well. Okay, so step five, list your distribution channels and frequency. So, see how easy this is? Like, all these, you shouldn't have more than three or four bullet points, or I'm sorry, two to three bullet points for each one. Just make sure that it's not super complicated. You want to be able to look at this and instantly know what you're going for. Okay, so step five, listing the distribution channels and frequency. So, where is your target hanging out online? And you already know what kind of content, or I'm sorry, what do you know what kind of content they are consuming? And how often can you commit to showing up consistently, right? So, you want to make sure that you do this because if your audience is on LinkedIn, but you're making content on Instagram and TikTok, everything that you're doing is going to be a waste of time because your audience, they aren't there, right? So, for example, I have video content that I want to create roughly 6 times a week. Since I'm doing a 30-day challenge currently, I'm going to be posting pretty consistently daily. So I have video content for 6 days. That'll be across YouTube and LinkedIn. Have social media posts for 6 days. I want to be consistent on LinkedIn and YouTube. And then an email once to 6 times per week. It could be daily, but at least once a week. So again, they don't have to be you don't have to have everything set in stone. Don't marry this document. It's going to change. And that's all you need. So for mine, it literally just says video content, frequency 6 times a week, channel, YouTube, and LinkedIn. That's it. And then social media posts 6 times a week on LinkedIn. That's it. Okay, and then step 6. How can you connect to the business purpose, your business purpose? So why am I saying what I'm saying? So, to do this, just look back on number one. What are your business goals? Are you trying to increase followers? Are you trying to get more subscribers, get more leads? And how do you plan to track that? So, for example, um, earlier I mentioned that on LinkedIn, I want to grow my followers by 50%, right, in the next 30 days. So 50%, that would be, I'm at 358 now, that would be going to 537. And the way I plan on tracking that is by doing a weekly review, right? So every Monday, I am going to take a look and see what is my follower or subscriber count now. Do I have, since I'm doing this in 30 days, and that's about 4 weeks, is there a way I can break down this 50% goal to where I'm doing a little bit each week so it's consistent and it's not too overwhelming? Now, depending on the platform and how often you're planning to post, you can make that make the distinction of how much and how often you're going to track. You can make that for yourself. But me, I'm planning to do weekly because trying to do daily would not only take away from the time that I'm spending to make content, but it also may not give me the results that I want to see, especially if I just posted it. So I want to, at least take a couple days so that the analytics can catch up and I can actually see what's going on, get a clearer picture of what's going on. All right. And then so that brings us to step 7, the additional inputs. What am I missing? Now, this section, you put anything that you think might be relevant. You don't want to make this document too long. Of course, you want to keep it in bullet points. But if you have other things that weren't covered in here that you think would be relevant to your strategy, this is the place to put them. For example, a couple of the things I put in this section were first, my budget and resources. So I'm not planning to spend a ton of money on this, but I do want to make sure that that's something that I'm paying attention to and that I track. A lot of the programs that I use are free, like Notion and Asana. YouTube is free, LinkedIn's free. All of these things are free, but I just want to make sure that I'm tracking the things that I'm using and the budget that I'm, extending if I have any. One thing that I am paying for example, for me, is Canva. Canva's about 13 bucks monthly for their pro plan. Get it if it's useful for you. You don't have to pay for it in order to use Canva. They do have free plans as well, but I choose to pay for it. That's something that I want to track. Make sure that I note that because it will be something I will be using to make content, specifically, thumbnails or podcast content. So that's something I put there. And then another thing is um, a a like a key performance indicator. They're called KPIs, but they're the things that you specifically want to make sure that you track. So, so step 6 kind of briefly touched on this, but I personally wanted to make sure that I have this a little bit more solid. The specific things that I'm tracking. So, for example, on YouTube, I'm tracking subscriber growth. I'm tracking, video engagement, how many likes and comments and shares that I get, how much engagement I get so that I know which videos to make more of, which ones to make less of. On LinkedIn, I'm tracking connections and followers. I'm trying to increase by 50%. I would be able to do that if I don't know, the connections and followers. So I'm also tracking engagement there as well, likes, comments, shares. And this, again, just a couple bullet points. You don't want to go too overboard. So if you follow these steps and you actually wrote them down and put them inside a document like your Notion or Google, wherever you do your business, you have a content strategy, a usable content strategy. Start using this strategy to make better, more consistent content to get better engagement. And speaking of engagement, if you have questions that you didn't understand, things that you didn't understand in this video and that you want more clarification on, leave me a comment. I will answer it. Or I might even make a whole video about it.